All right. Welcome to another week for your H Radio 2 to 3 part-time videos. We're doing videos this week just to obviously replace the contact session we would have had because it's Easter weekend. We're doing some videos and then again videos for next week as well. I do want to, we have to brief as well. So let me just give me a moment to think about that as well, and just contact you directly so that I can set up a time so we can go through the brief, all right, for the formative two, and then we'll move along swiftly, right? Okay, all right, let's quickly get into this lesson. We're going to do 20, you'll see there's 27, 28 will be the same, we'll do 29 and 30 together, and then I think it's 30 and then 31. But it's all right. I'll label it as it should be. Again, just well done on completing the formative one. Still obviously in the marking process. Very excited to see what you came up with. Okay. All right. So this is practical programming and making content better. 10 out of 15 from Getler's book Beyond Powerful Radio, chapter 11, page 1312148. Show prep, right? So I'm just going to head off here too. All right, just head off to this. So I might have gone through some of my prep again. Please forgive me. I always disclaim the same kind of thing. Can't remember exactly what I have covered and what I have not covered in another class. But we did well, up to this point we have looked at the outline with that one particular graphic that does come from your book that outlined a kind of like a radio documentary piece, like there was a feature for about an hour and explained like what was happening per minute, per certain minutes, per intervals, right? Anyway, but we had a quick look at that. I will show you obviously some a version of my prep. I think I did. Now that I'm thinking of it, I think I did show you anyway. But needless to say, man, show prep is one. I'm gonna. It's come to my head, and so it's come to my mouth. It's kind of riveting for me. I do like planning as it is, but the thing is that when I do prep and I spend enough time on my show to make sure that I do have the best foot forward as I can, or I give myself before I do go on air. I really enjoy the process, right? So just having making sure to one in terms of like kind of like creativity health, to know that you should have just some time. That's the biggest thing. You always have time. You always can make more time in the day for anything, but devoted time to a creative process is how you're going to enjoy it. And 10 to 1, do it best when you do it at all. Okay. So for me, it's not that I do have a certain time of the week or whatever it is, or time of the day that I do prep, but my prep is ongoing. So I quite, in terms of that, I do like, making sure that I contact certain guests. So I do reading while I'm on the treadmill, on the elliptical, or I listen to podcasts, or I listen to news streams or whatever it is while I'm driving to make sure that one, I do love the feeling of, but also knowing that I know a little bit about what's going on in the world. And that doesn't just go for news, so current affairs, whatever it may be. I do enjoy that aspect, not because I'm going to run off and I'll tell everyone everything about anything that's happening today, but it one just like a listener who listens to the radio to prepare themselves for the day, as we've spoken about breakfasts before. For me, it does the same thing. It makes me feel as though I have some kind of leverage with the world around me by being able to just expose myself further and further to different conversations and different angles and perspectives and points of view and whatever it is. So it's half, it's not half, it's maybe I think about 25% entertainment for a content creator, specifically a radio presenter, to be putting some focus on their prep as well. And then the 75% that is left over is just work, it's hard work, right? So a good prep show, well prepped show is going to almost guarantee you great radio. But remember, the prep is only one part, and your execution is everything else, right? All right. So, show prep is the most important weapon that you do have against boring your listener. So, while you've been prepping your show, you hopefully have not gotten bored at any one point, right? Give me a second. I want to take a quick call. Sorry, I know you don't really notice the time that elapses, but unfortunately, work called and just kind of like split my attention. Okay, so let's move back. Right, so you are going to recognize certain things that do pop up in this lesson. For example, this, right, and this might kind of like spark off some kind of like PTSD around Fubby, right? Or what is it? Fubbi and the humor in gifts and all that type of stuff. Please don't. There's no reason because it has nothing to do with each saying some methodologies otherwise, but seeing the same thing within academic text or whatever it may be, or guidelines or whatever that you do come across means that there is there is a great foundation for being able to share that knowledge and continue to share the knowledge. So that's the long way of saying we're back to humor again. Okay. Humor always attracts a listener. And so the thing is, as I've mentioned before, you don't have to be funny, but you do have to have a great sense of humor. In other words, you should be able to, laugh with people and see something as funny and, even like make fun of yourself sometimes. Don't make fun of other people, please, because only within a comedic setting, right? When you hear someone roasting someone else, we can say, okay, look, that's going to be a setting where people will laugh with you, right? I'm gonna reserve my own personal comments because I can't stand that. It's cheap comedy. But yeah, anyway, my point is that you can write parodies, you can write skits, you can do whatever it is as well. Should you have the inclination and the ability to do such things, right? Please, if you do want to do, I always encourage students to try everything, right? I'm saying while you're studying, please, this is the moment right now to try your hand in writing a skit or writing a parody, right? And seeing how much production goes into that, whether your jokes fall flat, whether the joke's too private, whether you think something is funny and it isn't, because one, yes, everyone does have their own sense of humor and what they might think is funny. I'll give you an example. And I might actually use it. I could make it funny, but I was thinking about it. It's so silly. It's so you're going to completely judge me, which is totally fine. So something like it's like I can't even say it aloud. Anyway, I'll tell you anyway. It's fine. So like farts for me are. It's so childish, I know, but it's so it's something that as a kid, I'm not, and I'm 45 now. I laugh at every time. Not when, not when. Oh, I'm going to start now because I actually thought about a situation in the car the other day, and I nearly had an accident because I was laughing so much, and I didn't even hear someone like toot, right? Anyway, it's really funny for me. But it's by no means going to have the same amount of impact. Oh, it makes me laugh, eh? Oh, but it's not going to have the same impact. So I must be very aware that like fart jokes or fart situations or whatever it is, are not publicly generally something that someone would find comedic. And I must actually, so here was my idea. It's so good. I think it's so good. There's been so many I must write this down actually while I'm gonna forget my yeah. So I was thinking, for example, to lighten. There's been so much terrible, 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 terrible press every single day for specifically South African politicians, and just the war, the kind of like the sort of cold political war against the US against the world, or whatever it may have been. And it's ongoing. It's just on. It's so exhausting, and you have to watch. I say when you are someone like us, so a media creator, consumer, or whatever it may be, right? You have to constantly sit and watch this on like politics really annoy me, right? So it's ongoing chatter, 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 and rubbish, rubbish, rubbish of someone talking, doing, talking to be able to just get to the point, man. I thought it's just as a once off, just a once off. Take a really, because it's causing so much chaos, right? I'm saying serious chaos as well. It's really aggravating us South Africans, right? Take one of those really those horrific big, public statements. I just add a couple of farts in there, man, to just show you how anything with a fart can be, doesn't sound as serious, right? And we just need a new perspective. I'm doing it this week. I don't care. I think it's gonna be funny. Okay. Anyway, there's my shame, but it's fine. So again, humor is very personalized, right? But also we can like if we do have a comedic flair. So again, something that my humor does come from kind of on the spot, very kind of witty remarks that I do not push, never push humor, right? It just comes out, and I look at a situation, I make more light of it. So not light of it, so ripping it off. I don't like doing that. But there's so many ways to be very sharp and very witty, right? And again, different people are different types of funny. Okay, so the rules for powerful prep show can be found in various shapes and forms. How many sources of a show prep can you actually think of for yourself? So what immediately if I had to say to you, where could you possibly find content? And you're going to tell me everywhere because you're absolutely 100% correct, right? So one, go with the moment. If something spontaneous happens on air, that is better than what you have prepared. Then go with it, all right? Obviously, spontaneity in the reverse of this means something is going absolutely wrong. It's terrifying, and you should absolutely say, I need to get back on track. But when you see a magic moment happen, that's what we call it a magic moment, is how we set up for a best possible situation, right? You can never prepare for a magic moment. You gotta really, really capitalize on it, use it, and I'm saying write it and then let it go once it's done, right? So definitely the whole thing of presence within the word presenter, present, right? We keep saying this to you. I've said it to you, I'm sure, as well, right? Is really important for you to do your job in many, 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 if not all aspects of you being on air. Always ask why. So avoid slot filling. Why am I going on air? Am I doing a teaser? So that's the one reason, a teaser. Okay. So we're going to tease ahead. We're going to quote unquote promise ahead, right? And remember that has to be on its own a content piece as well, right? Telling them what's going to happen, or are we actually doing what we promised them in the first place, right? Okay. And that's important. If you're not doing any one of those two things, right? And obviously, the actual filling the promise can be so many different things: a standalone piece, a music piece, an interview, a content call out, playing a song, this or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, right? Okay. Anything else would almost make little to no sense to actually say. So when we do the at the very lower hierarchy of all of that is something we call an admin or housekeeping link, which is time and temperature, which also has a place. I'm saying it should be about 7 seconds or 10 seconds long if that's all you have before you need to go into a spot break or you need to go into news specifically, something like that is timed like a feature or news, right? Okay. Then all you say that it is this, this is the time here. You are with this radio station. Give the tagline. Tell them who they're listening to. So it's myself, Chris, on whatever, and it's time for the news. Finished, right? But at the it that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. It's admin. It's housekeeping. We're just checking what is happening, what needs to happen, and we're moving on. Okay. Right, so let's continue with some of those rules, right, for powerful prep. So, warning to managers. Managers feel comfortable seeing people working. Yeah, the only hard rule for powerful radio is be prepared and on time for your show. That is a must on both counts. The on time for your show is it's never debatable. Like you can't, I know. Whenever I start to go into lunacy, you start hearing my voice go up and up and up and up and up because it's crazy. It's crazy to expect anything else. That you can even be 2 minutes late for your show or 1 minute late for your show is madness. Is absolute madness because we literally are a live medium that is based on, like I said, that live medium is based on time, right? Like it is 7 o'clock, it is 11 o'clock, it's 7:30, it is 10 past 12. Whatever, everything around what we do is based on a clock, right? So one, just please make sure that you are an hour earlier to your show so that you can get an hour so earlier arrived an hour earlier. Okay, so that so many different times, you know what I mean, right? Okay, get to the show, right? Get to the station. Make sure that you are one. The biggest thing is to be relaxed, right? So that you can obviously offer your best foot forward, your best presentation when you do go on air. No, kind of like rattled uh behavior or you're anxious, you're rushed, you're out of breath, you don't know what's going on, you got a million things going through. No, none of that. You've got 1 hour to sit there. Two, okay, one for obviously just your temperament. Two, the other thing is like you got to sit and go through your prep again, right? Make sure that everything is loaded to the system that you have to play out. Make sure that if you do need to do some final edits, do it. Maybe make again, what I always do is I always call my guests at in that time to make sure that they are one still available. Then they two know exactly what time they're going to be on air, whether it be in studio or on the phone or whatever it may be, right? So I can make sure that I am set before I go. That doesn't mean nothing's going to go wrong. In fact, literally most weeks, like most shows, there's going to be something that does go wrong, right? I'm not saying completely massive blow up the show. Always never don't hope for that, right? But you definitely like some technical error, or something is a little late, or someone is a little late, or they talk too much, or their mic isn't working, or there's some kind of peak, or some and pitch control, whatever it may be. I'm saying things that just happened this past week. That is normal, and that's fine. That's fine as long as you know what the problem is. You 10 to 1 can come up with a solution, right? Carry a recording device wherever you are. You do. You got your phone, right? It's a notepad, it's a camera, it's a recording device. I'm saying to you in terms of like an audio recorder, everything. that you can see and do have access to throughout the day as well. Even your own ideas, right? You can go quickly do like a little bit of voice note to yourself. Send it on your own. Send it. What I do is send stuff to my WhatsApp account, right? If I need to reference it, or I think, oh, this is a great idea, or this is different, or whatever it may be. Here's obviously a site that I need to go and have a look at later, or video. I'm gonna have to just stream when I got some time, or maybe Wi-Fi, or whatever it may be, right? I do that, right? So make sure that you continuously are working, quote unquote, right? Spend time with normal people so that you do not become Tibo touch, right? And I say that with respect. Tibo Touch doesn't know how to talk to normal people anymore, and we know that, right? And is it his fault? Yes, completely, right? Because we know the richest people. Please, I met Richard Branson, and he was talking just fine. When we were having our conversation. So, like you can be the richest man in the world. I'm not sure if Richard Branson is anymore, but anyway, the point is that you need to not forget how to speak to people that are normal, quote unquote, normal, as opposed to white. Actually, that's I'm just putting the bunny quotes in there. But you need to be able to have a conversation with anybody, right? Any class, any sex, any age, right? Any race as well, right? Okay, know your target, so know your audience, be around them and talk to them so that you can talk about things that are important to them and take a test drive, discuss show ideas with somebody else, prep is much easier when for me personally, I do believe this is important when you are a little bit, you're not fully bought into your own idea, right? And you think, okay, let me just quickly test this. Is it a bit too long? Is it a slightly off topic? Could I maybe call some fat here? Let's say, is my payoff, my actual call out, does it make sense? Do things like that to test drive certain elements in your show. So do you know, or do your show what before what? uh, Whatever that sentence does not make sense. But in other words, right, don't rehearse your show. So don't. So rehearse it as if it is a script to a play. So you must take your show prep, right? Sit down with it and speak, open your mouth, speak your way through your links and through your content and get a really good feel and a good ownership for what is that you are saying there that you have to do, right? And you can do it many different ways because certain things are sometimes a bit complicated, right? So you might have many different elements in one particular show segment that you want to flow nicely across, and so you're going to have to sit there with a couple of some notes to your prep that you might have to chop and change and this and that to know how it would sound on air. Open your mouth. That's so important. It does no use you just reading it. I'm saying in your head. Okay. Pre-produce, prepare the soundtrack for your show. Any bits, music, etc., that you think you might actually want to use. And double check before you can go on air with a topic. Ask, is it actually relevant? Does it matter to our target audience? Do I care? Do they care? What will I do if this topic gets boring? And the answer is like move on, like drop it and move on. Or don't make it boring in the first place, right? So easy to say, but a guest could make it boring, right? A listener could make it boring. Whatever it is, like you might only realize on air, this is just not working because the listeners are not responding and they don't care. Leave it, move along. And do I have a fallback plan? Ideally, I would not prep on the go, right? I would rather play music because music is always the first preference of a listener and not you, right? And what you have to say. So if you have found a topic that would work for someone else, pass it on. So in other words, for another show, again, host it host it by giving it to somebody else, like host I'm saying the kindness, right? I'm not too sure of a better phrase at the moment, but you know what I mean. Like pay it forward, right? Pass it on. If it doesn't fit your show, but it fits, let's say, the show before you or weekend show, whatever it may be, give it to them. Like give it to them because it only makes the station better, right? Okay. So break rules. If you can come up with a more successful method, we are telling you, we are teaching you radio basics. So not basics, fundamentals, right? The foundation of radio. You may go ahead and do it, push what you want to and how you want to do it when you master the fundamentals, right? We want interesting radio. We want pioneering radio. When I say groundbreaking, because I don't really think there's groundbreaking radio. That's a little different to pioneering. Pioneering means let's try something new. Groundbreaking is like inventing the telescope. I don't know. Anyway, okay, surfing the web. You know, part of your job is surfing the web, and predominantly on your socials, ideally, right? And do make sure that, like, for example, in your socials, do mark off and categorize certain things as well. Like specifically, that's what X is there for, so that you can build your lists quite nicely, so that you can sift through kind of like-minded content in a way. So only politics, only celebrities, only food, only fitness, only whatever it is, so that you don't have to just keep on scrolling, and scrolling some more, right? Okay. News sites, blogs, social media trends, etc. You can also use Google Trends and Google Insights. I have used it once or twice. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not bad. It's quite nice, but at the end of the day, everything is a trigger. So you would use the trend or the insight as a trigger. Once again, it's a trigger to go and create some new content over there, and off you go. Right. Okay. Twitter trends, so X trends, or using trendsmap.com or Yahoo Local News. Really, please, these are just some. There's some options that might be available out there. And also, this is dated. So, for example, when you see the word Yahoo, you're like, what? Anyway, right. Okay. The tale of total show prep. However, you do research your content, it is important to put in definitely once again the prep time. If the prep time this week is it's going to need about 3 or 4 hours, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about prepping 3 hours or 4 hours for a 3 hour show, right? Then it's calling for a lot of attention. There's a lot of intricacies in there, and that's good. Put it in there. If it takes you an hour to prep, I'm saying, and you've gotten used to it, and it's great and looks good, and leave it. I'm saying leave it. There's no need. You don't have to put a certain like specific amount of time of prepping your show. You just don't put any at all, and don't put 15 minutes either. And do not prep on the go. In other words, like on the show while you are doing it. Lazy, 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 lazy. Okay. All right. So prep and topic selection. Dig deep for talkable topics or engaging questions. So, for example, all right. Remember to look beyond page one for stories. In other words, to scroll. I'm so sorry. I just need some water. Give me a second. Got some water. Thank you so much for that. Okay, right. As I said, we're continuing with the first point there. Dig deep for talkable topics or engaging questions. So we're talking about scrolling, and you can stay on the net and spiral into a black hole forever. Genuinely forever. That's how much information is out there. Plus, every single day, more information is added to that endless sea of information that is already out there, right? So know that you need to scroll with purpose. Sometimes we do have a bit of a creative block, and so just be open. I'm saying open when you are struggling creatively, all right? Then just be open and scroll without pressure. That is the biggest thing, right? Otherwise, one, you're going to be quite frantic, and two, you might also just pick any one old thing without thinking about it. Or even, okay, man, I can carry on, man. You might start to be tempted to copy somebody else's idea, right? And say, oh, well, my listeners haven't heard it, so I can use it. That's rubbish, man. And not only in terms of ethics, you should be quite ashamed. I'm saying you should just copy and paste someone else's idea that you see, oh, they interviewed this person or they didn't this way. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. No, man, that's awful, man. Right, as a creative, like you want that ownership of credibility, you creative credibility, right? And you can always, there's always an answer, right? Andy Bubane or Bubine, right? Bobine. There's so many ways to say that, right? Right. Anyway, and Jeremy Miller's prep methods say that show prep is usually a team effort. Yeah, if you do work in a team, right? And not a task assigned to just one person. Once again, if you are in a team, right? Show prep begins with a review, a check, or a snoop of your own show. Please, every single time you do a show, go listen back to it as you cut your podcast from it, or you're going to just or even if you don't want to cut podcasts or don't know how to, which is also something that is mandatory, you should not do that. Listen to yourself, like see whether you can tolerate yourself. Oh, when you kind of oh, you get that very hot feeling of embarrassment, because you're listening to yourself and you're saying, why wasn't I just speaking more clearly or making my point? Or why did I say that there over there? Or why was I speaking so long? Or why did I forget to ask that question? We can be kind to ourselves, but we can also be critical, which is really important, right? So the producer, for example, if you have one on your team, updates the team on new material that has arrived as we move along for shows. As I've explained before, like the breakfast show, right? Either from publications, radio services, the internet, press releases. We would love to imagine that our production, I'm saying here in South African, is of that caliber. And I'm saying nothing. No, I'm going to say it and then finish disclaiming later. Is of the caliber of that in the States and the US, where there's the producers and the production team are monsters, man. They're monsters. So you're working on a news related show, and I've said this before in TV, that is a completely different beast. But even on air, right? I'm saying, let's say you're doing a radio show, there would be so there would be like a bit of a processing chain, right? Like a bunch of cogs in the system that make everything work, and they would be on it, because what would be important, very important, is how, for example, that fluidity of communication between the team members, both on and off air, works. Here we ideally, I mean, we have that one producer, and again, we said for the bigger shows, right, with reason, right? There's a lot to do. There's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, a lot of competitions, a lot of clients, that type of stuff. And so the producer will do their best in keeping the show up to date, right? I do, however, believe, and that goes, I suppose that applies to every single one of us, including me. Should there be breaking news, right? So, for example, take it from a solo jock first. How are they going to know? I'm saying, because they're busy with a show that they're prepped, they're busy executing it, whatever it is. There isn't a structured team that supports you going on and doing kind of like, again, or that spontaneous update, etc., etc. Right? Okay. If there is a show that does have that support structure, so you have some content creators, some producers, or executive producer and a sub producer, or whatever, right? Okay, sure. So the TV's playing. I'm saying social media is happening, that type of stuff. You have to also again pay attention to the show that's busy happening as well. So I do find that you need a really big team with that has a long processing chain. So I'm talking outside of that studio as well. That has to be on alert as part of their responsibility to update and pass that along to the producer so that it can be included in the show itself. Having said that, right. Okay, anyway, sources. Some teams hire writers who'll generate exclusive material for their shows. You know what? I call that a contributor, right? So go acknowledge them, please, and allow them some space on your show. Decide on a list of topics for the day's program and assign priority. What should we talk about first, and when should we talk about it? Hour one, hour two, hour three, hour four, like at what times, and how are we going to bring this in and start construction thereof, right? Okay. So pre-recorded material may include interviews with guests that are not available to do it live. We hashtag love pre-recorded material because again, I've said this before, the benefits of like cutting all the rubbish out, right? One is there. Two, like controlling quality of a pre-recorded segment is there as well. And then obviously you can decide to cut and play it out when you want to as well on the show. So let's say you want to do a 2 minute piece versus a 5 minute piece or a 3 minute piece later. You can do that too. So there's this mass control, pre-recorded material. There's a time and place every single show for you to do it, right? Okay, so feature intros and outros, that's more around imaging, but excerpts, street interviews, voxes, popses, no, vox pops, not popses, right, and so on and so forth, right. Schedule, okay, schedule program elements on paper. Make sure that everyone getting involved has a copy, right? You email it beforehand to all the contributors and the guests so they know what time and what is going to be asked about them, including what is expected from them as well. Are they going to perform live? Are they going to do a reading, what is it, like a I want to say a tarot reading. I know it's tarot reading, but I don't know what they're going to do. You know, like let's say some esoteric stuff. Who knows? I don't know. But they're going to do that, right? They need to know as well. All the contributors to the show, really important, right? Archives, once again, please, at the end of your show, you should constantly keep an archive of all the material that you have produced. Specifically, I'm saying to you, if you are going to podcast stuff, you will have audio that you have saved into an archive. Go make sure that you date it, you obviously label it correctly, right? If you do want to keep some actual scripting, so in other words, the prep itself, I keep at least about 10 of my shows, like the last 10 shows at any one particular time, and for a particular reason, because I've got constant features that come up time and time again. And I want to make sure that one also I have the same kind of intro and structure that I can just kind of copy and paste, at certain times of the month or whatever it may be, right? That I've got details of that particular contributor but also the main thing is making sure that you have an audio archive because we can repurpose that audio content and be selective. It's great to have 10 fabulous ideas for a show, but you might need only four. You will need only four. 10 is far too much, right? Okay. So think about your listeners and what they would find the most interesting, right? So knowing that composite listener inside and out is really important for you to make all of these decisions, right? So three subject areas listeners always respond to are the stories about health, basically your pocketbook. I think I've almost covered this. This sounds very familiar, right? Okay, and heart. Okay, so I'm going to actually go through this quite quickly because I believe that we have covered it somewhere, right? Okay, so what's in it for me? The listener, right? Ask everyday questions, right? How the vision and vigilance to spot trends, take risks, and exploit opportunities is so all these are guidelines on how to it's just like start at fire, man, on how you can go ahead and approach a show. Will people expect us to cover this particular type of content? People do care about things that are close to them physically, emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually. So there we go. There's some inspiration there, right? Use radio's immediacy, the now factor, not the what happened on Tuesday and I'm speaking on Saturday, right? Okay. Use the news. Have a friend who has a friend. Get a life, right? I'm so sure I've said this before, right? People want more than just the facts. Okay. So, right. Prepare for the dull days. In other words, when we have very slow content days or content weeks, even because something is monopolizing all the content feeds, right? And everything that you do see is a spin-off from that particular monopolization, right? So, for example, it could be elections, right? It could be a presidential death. It could be whatever it is that everyone is talking about because one, in this day and age, everyone needs traffic on their, I'm saying, on their socials, on their digital platforms, whatever it is. But we also can't blame them. I mean, we need listeners as much as they need followers, or impact or impressions or engagements or this and that. So you're going to find a lot of stuff repeated, right? You should have a database, right, of stuff and ideas that you've come up that you couldn't use in other shows, but are great ideas for usable material, right? So look inward. Well, one, obviously, if you find that maybe something's not happening, look to your family, look to your friends, look to your experience that you had this morning when you were trying to shop, or when you tried a new food, or at a new breakfast joint, or whatever it may be. Right? You never know, man. Everywhere they can be there. There's the probability and also the possibility that you will find content over there. Sometimes you may overhear usable material and you will create a powerful brainstorm session should you want to. So, in other words, go sit down. Again, all of this takes some time. I know you've got a life, but your job is this, all right? So go and put down the work. You really, well, man, I can't explain enough. Like when a show goes well, hey, and right? For you, like you have put in that work, and that's the main reason for why a show sounded the way that it did. Your guests were happy, your listeners were having fun, whatever it is, and you sounded great was because you put in all this effort. Right, Michael Haas's brainstorming rules once again. This I think we've covered, so I'm going to just quickly recover it again. During the brainstorm, there must be no judgment of ideas. Freewheeling is allowed. In other words, do whatever you say. I mean, or say whatever you want. Right? You'll do the filter later of bad and good ideas. I look for quantity rather than quality. The more ideas, the better. Combine ideas. See what comes from that, like some building something new. Every idea must be written down. If you choose not to write something down, then you've actually passed like this judgment against someone. And you said this is a free, safe space, man. So why are you now being like that? Why are you being so judge? Anyway, so every person taking part in the brainstorm is equal in rank. Scott Shannon's list for creating powerful radio, also something we have spoken about before. So let's just quickly cover that. Carry a recording device and camera at all time. Read everything, watch everything, learn your computer and I'm saying all your equipment, right? Everything that is either digital as well. So look at all your platforms, know how to use that. Answer your own telephone and talk to the listeners when you are in studio. You are getting calls because every single listener counts, one listener at a time. Hang out with normal people, seize the moment, create some talk, and remember three things: preparation, concentration during the show, and moderation. Not too much of something, right? There are the key lecture points, right, that you can have a look at. And don't forget, here's the homework for the next lesson. I mean, if you want to do it on your own, we can reprise this when I do eventually see you again. And again, happy Easter. Really hope that all the blessings are upon you and your family, man. It's a great time of year. Right, then we can chat about this. afterwards, right? When I see you again, topics, information that you believe would be interesting to hear about on the radio, and we'll discuss them in detail. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. See you in the next lesson. Cheers. Bye.